We had just finished dinner. The usual quiet chatter about bills, groceries, and weekend plans filled the air until something shifted. A simple question turned into something sharper, heavier. I asked my wife about a bill that needed paying. A small thing, really, just part of the usual routine. But this time, her reaction was different. She looked up at me, her eyes cold and distant, and said, "I'm not your property." The words hit me like a slap. They hung in the room like thick smoke, impossible to ignore. For a few seconds, I didn't know what to say. Was it anger? Rebellion? A declaration of independence? Or was it her way of saying she wanted something more? Something different from our marriage? The tone she used, it wasn't casual. It was defiant. As if she had drawn a line in the sand. As if she was daring me to step across it. I didn't respond. I just nodded and quietly began clearing the table. But inside, something cold and heavy began to form. It wasn't anger, had not yet. It was realization, a small, bitter truth whispering in the back of my mind. Everything I had done, all the sacrifices, the long work hours, the effort to make her life easier, suddenly felt meaningless. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my mind again and again. "I'm not your property." Had I been controlling? Was she right? Or had she simply decided that accountability, partnership, was no longer convenient for her? As I stared at the ceiling, a strange resolve grew inside me. If she didn't want to feel like my property, then fine. She wouldn't be treated like it. But that also meant I wouldn't be her caretaker anymore. It wasn't revenge. It was fairness. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She smiled, chatted over breakfast, and kissed me before heading out the door. But something inside me had changed. When she asked if I'd pay a bill that week, I said calmly, "You can handle it." She frowned, confused. "Since when?" I simply replied, "Since now." That small moment, that one sentence, was the start of something neither of us saw coming. Later that day, the kitchen faucet started leaking. Normally, I would have fixed it immediately. Instead, I looked at it, then walked away. When her car ran low on gas, I didn't take it to the station. When the trash was full, I didn't take it out. She started to notice. At first, she thought I was tired. Then she got annoyed. But still, she said nothing. By the third day, the tension was suffocating. She finally snapped. "Are you seriously just sitting there while everything falls apart?" I looked up from my phone and said evenly, "You said you're not my property, so you can handle it." Her face flushed with anger. "You're being petty." I shrugged. "No, I'm being fair." The house began to unravel. Dishes piled up. Bills went unpaid. The once seamless rhythm of our home turned chaotic. It wasn't easy watching it all crumble, but it was necessary. Each task left undone was a silent reminder, a reflection of what partnership really means. By the end of the week, even she couldn't pretend everything was fine. The fridge was nearly empty. The laundry baskets overflowed. The lights went out one afternoon, unpaid utility bills. She stormed into the living room furious. "The power's out!" "Why didn't you pay the bill?" I looked at her calmly. "You knew it was due." "The account details are in the folder." Her hands shook. "This isn't independence, this is cruelty." "No," I said quietly. "This is what independence looks like when it's one-sided." That night she sat in the dark, on hold with the power company, tears of frustration in her eyes. I didn't feel proud, I felt hollow. This wasn't about winning. It was about making her see the truth. That marriage isn't built on dominance or control, but on shared effort. Days passed. The silence between us became unbearable. We moved around each other like ghosts, polite, distant, pretending everything was fine. Even our friends started to notice. Her best friend called me, asking if everything was okay. My mother scolded me for keeping score. No one understood. One evening, I came home to find her sitting on the couch, laptop open, eyes red from crying. "The Wi-Fi's been cut off," she said softly. "The account's overdue." She looked so small in that moment, so tired. And that's when it hit me. This battle, our silent war, wasn't helping either of us. It wasn't independence. It was destruction. I sat down across from her. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "I can't do this anymore." I nodded. "Neither can I. We didn't fix things that night." There were no apologies, no dramatic reconciliations, just silence and exhaustion. But that silence was different. It wasn't hostile anymore. It was surrender. The next morning, something changed. I found her at the kitchen table surrounded by papers, bills, receipts, notes. She looked up at me and said quietly, "Can we go through these together?" That small sentence broke the wall between us. We worked side by side, sorting through the mess we'd both ignored. No sarcasm, no resentment, just quiet cooperation. Days turned into weeks. She started taking responsibility for things she'd never handled before, and I started helping again, not because I felt obligated, but because I wanted to. One night, as we sat down for dinner, she reached across the table and took my hand. Her eyes were soft, sincere. "I don't want to go back to how things were," she said, "but I don't want to lose this either." I squeezed her hand gently. "Me neither." And in that moment, I realized something profound. Love isn't about control. It isn't about ownership or obligation. It's about balance. We didn't go back to being what we were. We became something new. Two people learning, again, how to share a life not out of habit or duty, but out of choice. End of story. Voiceover outro. Sometimes, the hardest lessons in love come from silence, not shouting. It took losing our rhythm to find a new one, and in that quiet, we finally learned what partnership truly means.